Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Recharge Tuesday. This is Pastor Jimmy Smith. God bless you. It's May 31st, Tuesday. And I want to tell you something. This is a wake-up call for you. I want to give you a revelation. And you need to get your friends and your family in here tonight. I am live. I'm ready. I'm in here. You need to get a pen and paper and get ready. We do not own the rights to this music, but I want you all in here tonight. Tell somebody that Effective Life Church is on, and it's going to be powerful. Now listen, I'm going to give you a little time tonight because when I get to teaching, when I get to flowing, we're going to flow. You need pen, paper. You need an open mind, and we are going above religion tonight, okay? I want to teach you something. I'm going to show you something. This is a really serious wake-up call. Hope you can understand it. Hope you can hear it. God gave me a revelation early this morning, and I've been really dealing with it all day, and I really want to give it to you so you can help you understand where we are and what's going on. So, with that being said, I'm going to give you some time. I'm ready. I hope you are. Let's go. All right, here we go. Y'all ready? Well, God bless you. This is the day that the Lord has made, and we're going to rejoice and be glad in it. Don't it just feel good? We don't own the rights to this music. This is Kim Burrell, my sister. God bless you. I never shall forget what you've done for me. All right. Well, God bless everybody. Welcome tonight. And super excited. Yes, we do not own the rights to this music. Super excited to be here to talk to you all tonight. And I need you all with an open mind, open heart, as it relates to where we are going to be tonight. I am still decreeing and declaring that 2022 is the year of God's best. I believe that for God's people, and you have to get to a place where you start to believe it for yourself, because I just simply believe it. Okay, that this is the year of God's best for us. So, just kind of want to get into this And to everybody tonight, I hope you all had an amazing day and had an awesome day. I was up till about 4 something in the morning, and I'm headed to New York City soon, and to preach, and so I was kind of just looking at some videos about New York City, and just what the day I get there, and just how to kind of navigate through the city. So I was led, I guess, because it kept coming to my mind to go and look, and I did, and I was watching this lady. I don't know who she is, and she said something. And it got my attention. You know how you listening to something and it gets your attention and you have to go back? And I'm going to try to see if I can play it for you. And because I really, really, really feel... Back in 1930, they actually opened a speaking... So I'm listening to this, and I'm going to play this for you. I don't know if I can show it while I play it. That would probably be great. But anyway, I was listening to this and it got my attention, and I want to give you a revelation. Okay? Because a lot of times you can be going through life and not have a clue to what's going on. Okay? So I'm watching this video about New York City and all the stuff like that, and she's talking. And I had to rewind it over and over and over again, because I'm like, did I hear what I just heard? What is that? So let me see if you all can hear it. Part about this is back in 1930, they actually opened a speakeasy type bar called the Cloud Club. Now that was open from 1930 to 1978, and unfortunately had to close. But in this post-pandemic world, we're looking for fun. And if history repeats itself, which hopefully it does, minus the Great Depression, the next step after a pandemic would be the Roaring 20's. That's right. Very exciting. The next step after a pandemic would be the Roaring 20's. In October 1929. And so I said, Lord, what is the Roaring 20's? The next step after a pandemic would be the Roaring 20's. I said, what is that? What does she mean? That there was a some type of club, the Cloud Club, a speakeasy club or whatever, that back in a certain time in the 1920s or before the 1920s, alcohol was prohibited, or you couldn't buy alcohol, and they had these speakeasy rooms. I don't know what that is. Back in the day, now mind you, I'm born in 1977, and she said, now this is what brought me into this, and I hope y'all can get me tonight, okay? She said, and after a pandemic would be the... Hopefully it does, minus the Great Depression. The next step after a pandemic would be the Roaring 20's. That's right. Very exciting. The next step after a pandemic would be... The next step after a pandemic would be the Roaring 20's. And I had never heard of the Roaring 20's or what that is. And then it came to me that history is repeating itself. History is repeating itself. If you want to know what is going on, you got to look back. You got to see, right? It may not be to the exact, but for the most part, history is repeating itself. Okay, so let's go back. So as I've been studying and as I've been dealing with this, and couldn't hardly sleep last night, went to bed after 4 a.m., got up, studied some more. And I ain't talking about just watching no YouTube videos. I mean, I'm reading articles, I'm reading information and researching and trying to digest and trying to download to understand what does this mean about after a pandemic, would be the Roaring 20s. So let's go back. In World War I believe, it was 1914, 14, 15, 16, 18. For 4 years, there was a war. After World War I, then came about the Spanish flu pandemic. Or you can use the word plague. And I'm using that word plague not just because of Bible, but I'm talking about the articles that I've read. They use the word plague as well. That in 1918 was the Spanish flu. Now you gotta realize by the time I was born in 1977, the flu was just the flu. But in 1918 came the Spanish flu, and the Spanish flu was between 1918 and 1920. Okay, here's this pandemic where the Spanish flu comes and it literally wipes out millions upon millions of people. Over 50 million worldwide. It had to be close to about 100 million people. Okay, from 1918 to 1920. They had no vaccine. They had no cure. It just took people out until they gained immunity, or wherever that word is. Y'all know what it is. Okay, all right. So here it is, 1920 come, and as I'm watching this, and this lady this had nothing to do with anything. I'm watching something about New York City and where to go and how to navigate through the city. And she's talking about this nightclub that was closed due to the Great Depression. All right. The nightclub that was closed. And she was talking about how people, after a pandemic, by being locked up in the house, isolated and being in the house, they're looking for things to do. And so here all these new things will come out. They was like, hopefully, if history repeats itself, then hopefully we will be able to experience some fun and, going out and new things. Minus what she said, the Great Depression. She did like this, minus the Great Depression, we would experience after a pandemic, the Roaring 20s. The Roaring 20s. What happened after that, the Spanish flu or that pandemic? Well, from 1918 to 1920, the pandemic, and as I read and began to read, that pandemics or plagues end. So first of all, write this down, understand this. They always come to an end, right? This is, as I did research, pandemics always come to an end. They do not last forever. They always come to an end. Just like they did in 1918, it ended in 1920. And then after 1920, boom, here comes this surge of social change, political change. Here comes this new wave of prosperity. Okay? Here comes this new wave of prosperity. Can somebody type that into the chat tonight? Prosperity. Can somebody type in prosperity is here? I don't even want you to say prosperity is coming. Prosperity is here. And I need you all to receive this tonight as a wake-up call. I need you all to receive this tonight as a prophetic utterance or warning, however you want to receive it. But you need to hear what I'm saying. Prosperity is here. Somebody type that. Somebody type that in. Prosperity is here. Everybody watching me should be typing in prosperity is here. Okay. Now, and so here's this wave of prosperity that has come after the pandemic. What is taking place? The Roaring 20s, the Roaring 1920s, the Roaring 20s. All right. And so now you have women rights are now changing, where they're able to vote. I don't know if you ever heard of flippers, those ladies back in the day. You ever seen those old videos? where they would dress kind of fancy and they would have more of their legs out, and they would be like kind of like, dancing all at the same time. They were called flippers, right? They're a little bit more open with their, sexual lives, and I'm just giving y'all history. I'm just giving you what I read. Times are changing where the women are more liberated. They're voting. And then write this down, the stock market. Okay. Now, mind you, before the Spanish flu pandemic, the country's in a war. So 4 years in the war, then 1918, 18, 19, 20, 3 years is 4, 5, 6, 7. That's 7 years. Watch this, y'all. Woo! 4 years in this war, 3 years of this pandemic. That's 7 years of a drought. And then here, now they come into the 1920s, and then it's the roaring 20s. Things start percolating. Things start moving. Prosperity, credit became easy to obtain, and people were prospering. And then so as they prospered, there were more consumers. They were buying, which fueled the economy, and the stock market was going crazy. And I can't think who the president was during the pandemic, the Spanish flu pandemic, but then President Roosevelt became the president during the 1920s. And so he was all about prosperity. And then he brought in this, what is called the New Deal. Okay. And he was trying to bring about, now they had their challenges because the KKK, racism was still a thing. It was still, and then this was also in the Jim Crow era. Okay. And I'm going to give you some dates about that. But all this is happening, but yet people were prospering, and it was the roaring 20s, right? During the 1920s, what I am trying to tell y'all is, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, if you can hear me tonight in your spiritual ear and with your mind, history is repeating itself. History is repeating itself, and you need to understand and understand it. We are experiencing the second roaring 20s right now. What happens after a pandemic? Well, most of us, this is our first pandemic, because most of you all were not alive in 1918, right? Most of us who are watching, this is our first pandemic. And the first pandemic that we've experienced was 2020. Guess what? Like in 1918 until 1920, 2020, here comes the end of the pandemic, 2022. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, you're getting ready to see prosperity begin to take place in 2023. Write this down. 2024, write this down. And 2025, like you never seen. Matter of fact, just like that, the World War I was for 4 years, and then the pandemic was for 7 years, you're going to see between 2022 up until 2029, that's 7 years of prosperity. 7 years of prosperity from 2022 to around about 2029. Now, why am I saying that? Why am I saying 7 years? Where am I getting this from? If history is repeating itself to the exactitude of what happened then, well, from 1920 up until 1929, 1929, this is where the stock market crashed. Now, what some of you all, and the reason why I'm teaching the way I'm teaching, because a lot of folks shouting, dancing, getting dizzy, spitting bubbles, having church, and they're not paying attention. The financial analyzers and the financial community, Robert Kiyosaki and those who's all, they have been predicting that with all this that's been taking place, we've been seeing the housing market on fire, and we've been seeing so many things taking place. But what they are predicting is that there's going to be another economic crash. Okay. Now that doesn't mean that we need to become fearful and go into Lord help us, Lord Jesus. No. I'm going to tell you, this is history repeating itself. Okay. History repeating itself. They are expecting that after the pandemic, another roaring 20s, right? Prosperity. Investors, I'm in real estate, literally. And investors got money and they are trying to buy up all they can. And they're trying to make money and get to position themselves because, and right now, the stock market, and y'all can type in there and talk to me, it's low. There's some dips. There are people who are buying stocks in companies where normally it'd be too high to come in. And right now, there are some stocks that you need to buy and hold and chill for a minute. And then within a year or two or three, you can see a great return. Okay. I even studied on who became rich in the 1920s before the Great Depression. One of them was Kennedy. And he had went from here to over $100 million rich in the stock market because he sold and got out before the crash. Are y'all seeing this? Can y'all give me some hearts? Is anybody there? He got out before the crash and making money, make some moves. Okay. I'm going to tell you some of the industries that I studied that they became wealthy in. But you need to write this stuff down. You need to get what I'm saying. You need to get it quick. Okay? Because this is an opportunity for you and your family to prosper. I don't care if you're married. I don't care if you're single. This is an opportunity. I don't care how old you are. This is an opportunity for you to prosper during what we did not know is called the second era of the roaring 2020s. Why? Because we just came out of a pandemic, or we're coming out of a pandemic. Just like in 1918, the Spanish flu pandemic that killed almost 100 million people worldwide. Here we went through and experienced COVID, and y'all know folk died. People we know died. So now it's 2022, and y'all folks will say, well, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what the Lord's saying. I don't know what's happening. I'm telling you, I got a revelation, and I am telling you right now. Now, some people will hear it. Some people won't. Some people say, and some people can hear me. And for those of you who can hear me and you can take action, this is prime time for you. So I am giving you what I'm calling a prediction. So we don't use that word in church. Well, it's prophecy is in there. It's prophetic. It's a prediction. Or let me give you a business word. I'm giving you a projection. That as I study this and understand this, well, let me go back. What happened during the 1920s? Well, some of the other events that took place during the 1920s after that pandemic, okay, were I started to study what black people were doing. Well, you heard about Black Wall Street. Black folk during this time were prospering and beginning to own and start and have their own, and I wrote it down here. Black folk were beginning to own and start to have their own businesses, movie theaters, restaurants, insurance companies. We always hear about Black Wall Street, but there's also something called the Great Migration, where black people in the South begin to migrate to the North. And then that's what you hear about the Harlem Renaissance, where black folk in Harlem were prospering. And that's when the pop culture, jazz became a really, a real thing, real popular. A lot of things with nightclubs, so if you ever watch Harlem Nights, right? You ever seen Harlem Nights with Eddie Murphy and Richard Pryor? Well, that's that era, the Harlem Renaissance. And black folks was prospering. But listen to one of the reasons why black people were prospering in that particular time. In Greenville, in Carolina, in Oklahoma with Black Wall Street. And of course, in Harlem and in other pockets in New York, because they were coming from the South and they were going to New York, they were going to Chicago, and they were going to other places, right? Well, one of the reasons is because we were segregated. And because black people were segregated in their own communities, the black dollar began to move through that community over and over again, 50, 40, 70 times. Where now, and somebody could Google this and put this in the chat, the black dollar only lasts or circulates in the black community for a few minutes or something like that, right? Doesn't last very long. So prosperity, black folk, even though they were in the Jim Crow era, they were prospering because they were segregated and they were in their own communities and they were having and running their own businesses, doctor's office, hospitals, insurance companies, restaurants, churches, all kind of stuff that they were doing in Greenville. I think it's Greenville, Carolina, somewhere in Carolina, I don't know if it's south or north. But they had their own bus line and, where it was black owned. So that dollar and that money was circulating in the black community. And then you had Harlem, the Harlem Renaissance, where black folks left the South, went to the North. They were getting jobs, they were prospering, and they were making it happen. Okay? All right. That's what they were doing. Now, only issue I had with that is it seemed like they were more into the whole performance, which is cool. You got the Louis Armstrong and I think the name is Langston Hughes. And you got different authors and people who are becoming popular, becoming known to the black world, black culture, black community. But then I also noticed that during the 1920s, you had white people, the white folk, who were prospering and buying stocks and becoming multimillionaires. All right. So you got all this going on. It's the roaring 1920s and roaring 20s after a pandemic. And what I am trying to convey to you tonight is that history is repeating itself. History is repeating itself. So much is going on, so much change. After the pandemic in 1918, the Spanish flu, pandemic, plague, social change, political change begin to come. President, right? We're going to see in 2024, there's going to be a presidential election. History is repeating itself. FDR, Franklin Roosevelt, I think it's President Franklin Theodore Roosevelt, became the president. He was about prosperity. He came with something called the New Deal, right? And he had to even do it again, and then he called it like the New Deal or something like that. But you have people who were liberated. You have black folks who were in Harlem, and they had signs, and the signs read, "The new Negro has no fear." I mean, people are in a different place, and they felt empowered. Now, what happened? Well, October, let me see if I can get a date here so y'all don't think I'm just talking. October, I don't have no date, 1929. So all this prosperity and all this stuff is happening during the roaring 20s. October 1929, the stock market crashed. And between October of 1929, by the time 1933, the Great Depression had hit. The Great Depression, this was one of the worst down spiral of or economic crisis in America, because the stock market going and crashing like it did caused the unemployment. People begin to lose their jobs. Okay? People begin to lose their jobs. The stock market crash. It was October 29th, 1929. on October 29th of 1999. It was called Black Tuesday. All right. And so this period was marked by a significant economic decline and a massive loss of wealth for many Americans. The stock market crash of October 29th, 1929, called Black Tuesday, was a major initial catalyst for the Depression. So in 1929, October 29th, 1929, the stock market crashed, but it took a little time. By the time 1933 it came, people were in bad shape. And yeah, if you study this, and you can kind of go on and look at pictures and see how people were living, they call it tent city. People were living in tents. People were killing themselves, committing suicide. There were no jobs. They were standing outside for soup to get food. They had no food to eat. Like, it was horrible. Great Depression, right? So all that went on for a period of time. And what broke the Great Depression was World War II. That's what got the country out of the Great Depression. Okay. Now, were there people who still prospered during this time in the 1930s during the Great Depression? And one of the persons was Ford. Okay, Mr. Ford Motor Companies. He prospered and made millions as he put the assembly line out there and things of that nature. But I want you to understand, as people of the Lord, I want you to understand. So, you have this information, and the wool just not pulled over your eyes, so you can understand that we are in a second roaring 20s. Okay, we are in a second roaring 20s, and so now that we've coming out of the pandemic of 2020 with COVID, now we're in 2022, right? It's May of 2020, May 31st. So now we're going into June 2022. I want you to see it. I want you to mark my words. I don't want you to just mark my words, but I want you to hear what I'm saying, because I want you to do something about this. Because if history is repeating itself after a pandemic like it did then, oh my God, you got to do something about it. Okay? And so what happens was, after that pandemic, by people being locked up. Now, if you go back and look at the Spanish flu pandemic, you will see that a lot of people were social distancing, wearing a mask, instructed to wash their hands, and they were doing the same thing we were told to do. Remember, wash your hands, social distance, put on a mask, stay in the house. They told those people the same thing, and more people died, and they went through that pandemic. Now, when they got out of that pandemic in 1920, they were looking for things to do. People wanted to get out and party. People wanted to get out and have a good time. Okay, and so the 1920s were marked by celebration, amazing stock market returns. I don't know if anybody's paying attention to what's happening. Same thing right now. Matter of fact, after 2020, in 2021, there were some folk who made millions in the stock market. There's some people who made millions in crypto. And all we doing is shouting and dancing, bucking. God gonna do it. Won't he do it? It's like, who's having this conversation? Telling the people, after we get through dancing, buy some stocks. After we get through, don't prophesy to me about no car. I could buy a car if I got the money. Shoot. I can go buy whatever car I want. All right. The 1920s were marked by celebration, amazing stock market returns. This is time to experience amazing stock market returns. There's a dip The concept is buy low, sell high, buy low, sell high, right? There's also another, I wrote it down. I don't know if I got it in here. No, I got this. I wrote this quote: buy when everyone else is selling, and hold on until everyone else is buying. That's a quote. You want to write that down. That's somebody who made money during the 1920s, made millions actually. Okay? All right. The 1920s was marked with celebration, amazing stock market returns. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, I hope y'all hear what I'm saying. Hey, I want the Lord to prosper you. You want to do all this prospering, but this is it. This is the era. This is the time. The wealth transfer is here. It's not coming. It's here. Prosperity is not coming. It is here. All right? And ultimately, one of the worst crashes and most devastating depressions in modern history, the 1920s. They are predicting that is going to happen again. Why am I talking about this? Why am I spending time talking about this, risking sounding like a complete idiot and fool to people? Because if history is repeating itself, then it is possible that between 2027 and 2029, if not before, there could be another economic crash. And they are predicting, because see, in 1971, the US dollar was taken off the gold standard. President Nixon did that. And it's been losing its power and value ever since. And it's also predicted that China is going to end up becoming the world power. Like America's been the world power, China is going to rise to power. Okay? And it's not good enough for us to just shout and dance, high five our neighbor, get back in the church, and you don't know what's going on. If you want a prophetic word, here you go. I'm telling you, I'm giving it to you right now. And this should build confidence, and you should have a game plan, and you should be like, okay, at least I have a clue. History is repeating itself. Study what I'm telling you. Go back and look. Okay? All right. One of the worst crashes and most devastating depressions in modern history happened. Okay? And they are predicting that this is going to take place again, but it's going to be way worse than it was in the 1930s from the crash that happened on October the 29th, 1929. So if history repeats itself to the exactitude of what happened then I'm saying towards the end of the 2020s, before we get into 2030, we're going to see something happen. What I also do know is that GM and certain car companies are no longer making cars that run by gas. That they're going to eventually, when you get into the 2030s, they're going to deal with electric cars only. There's so much opportunity right now, saints. There's so much opportunity right now to become rich, to become wealthy. And I just don't want us shouting and dancing, speaking in tongues, getting dizzy, and what is being predicted to come upon us, and we not be prepared. Because those who prepare will be able to live and thrive and do what they need to do. And I know folks, you got some folk who don't study, who don't read, and don't have a clue, and they're going to talk about the mark of the beast. They're going to talk about, all this stuff like that. We don't know when the Lord coming back. The Bible says occupy until he come. So you can't say that, well, I don't know now. Just let the Bible do what it's going to, just let it be revealed. I ain't think about nothing. No. This is the time to prosper. This is the time to prosper. This is the time to prosper and prepare. This is the time to prosper and prepare. Buy some land. Buy some farmland in South Carolina, Georgia, Tennessee, wherever. This is not the time to be trying to go and buy everything. Y'all buying sneakers and clothes and shoes and designer this and designer. That appetite that we have as black people to have all the name brands and all of this and all that. We got more stuff in the world. This is the time to sell your stuff. Put money in the bank. Buy stocks. Learn how to trade in the Forex market. This is the time to have a business. Putting money in the bank. Investing. Saving some. Getting out of debt. Somebody type debt free. This is the time to become debt free. How dare we, as black folk, and don't have, and the church not warning people. All these folk, and I've said it, and I'm gonna make a video, and I'm gonna say it. All these women going down to Orlando, Florida, and all this clothes these folk be buying. How dare we are doing the same old. Nobody's paying attention and don't even understand. History is repeating itself. Going to all them hats these folk got. I'm talking to the women because they at the women's convention. And ain't nobody going to say it at the women's convention because all they're going to do is praise and talk about how good God is and how good God been. And I ain't never dressed like this before. I ain't never been able to wear these kind of clothes. I ain't never wear. And I'm telling you, this ain't the time for that. This not the time. They need to take them $6,000, $5,000 hats. I know folk who have to put that, they pay for that stuff all year just so they can walk around with a $4,000 and $5,000 and $7,000 hat on. This is time to sell the stuff you got. Why am I selling it, Pastor? So you can put money in the bank so you can go and buy some stock. Can I get an amen? Am I talking to anybody? So you can go and buy some stock. You need to sell some stuff so you can go and buy you some stock in some of these companies, DoorDash and Airbnb, and there's so many companies that's the information is out there. The information is out there, and here we are. Some of these stocks at an all-time low. And I'm saying, if you want to be rich, this is where you simmer down. Forget about this whole housing stuff. Oh, I want a house. Oh, hold on. House is nice. How you get the house is the question. Because you can set yourself up to buy a Bentley. You can set yourself up to buy a Maybach. You can set yourself up. But it has to do with what you do now. Don't panic. Get rich. Some of these stocks that are all-time low. Okay? Beyond Meat. Coinbase, Open Door, DoorDash, right? And some others, and I gotta write them down and whatever, or I got the information on it. But Nike, I even heard Nike took a dip. Y'all better take some of this money and stop buying all this foolishness. And then the folk, they spend all their money to go to these conventions and go to the travel and do whatever. And this is not the time to spend money. This is the time to make money. This is not the time to spend money. This is the time to make money. This is not the time to spend money. This is the time to make money. Not to say you can't enjoy yourself. I hope y'all hearing me. It's not the time to be splurging and balling. This is the time to make money. You should have multiple streams of income. Keep your monthly bills low. You ain't got nobody to impress right now. This is your opportunity to become rich. This is your opportunity to secure your family. This is your opportunity to do something great. This not time. You ain't got nobody to impress. Who you gonna impress now? After the pandemic, who you gonna impress? Who you gonna impress? Who we gonna impress? You know how many folk I've seen with money? They don't even drive the kind of car I drive, and they got money. Who are you impressing? Right? Warren Buffett, one of the richest men in the world, he live in a regular house. He old, I guess he don't care. And we'll see people on social media, and black people have a way, especially here in Atlanta. Black folk got a way of looking and, ain't got a dime to their name, but they go put on their little glad rat, put on their clothes, and they walking around. I'd rather be rich than to impress you. I'd rather you have money than to trick you, as most pastors and churches and folk doing with the same old, same old. Yes, tithing works. Yes, tithing is good. Yes, sowing and giving is good. But I'd rather you be a millionaire and sow. I'd rather you be rich and give. Instead of you giving out your penury and you got to sacrifice. We got to do something, y'all. Oh, man. Effective, like we could buy a building. We could buy land and build from the ground up. But if I teach you this principle, if I teach you what's going on, and you start to, you rich and you blessed and you're a member of this church. Oh yeah, you'll give. Oh yeah, I give $100,000. Yeah, pastor. Matter of fact, I'll give $1 million because the information you gave me. Whew, boy, I made so much money, pastor. I'm worth with the stock market and businesses and some things. I'm worth over 50 million. Matter of fact, I'm getting ready to do a deal now. Pastor, I may be worth over $100 million. You get what I'm saying? Oh God. I am. Let me finish reading this and tell you all. Then I'm done. I'm done. Plagues and pandemics end. They always end. We didn't know if it was going to end. Some of us still nervous about it. Okay? They always end. They ended. Watch this. They ended even before we had vaccines to respond to them. All right? I'm just reading you what I've studied and read. And how we react to these germs through social distancing, for example, determines the force with which they hit our society. So we've seen how it hit our society so far. Then once the pandemics end, often there is a period in which people seek out extensive social interaction. We're coming to the end. It's 2022 from 2020. What I've read and studied is that 2023, 2024, 2025, you're going to see stadiums. People going to be going everywhere. You say, well, I see that now. Yeah, to a certain extent. But we see it with some type of, still with the residue of 2020. Okay? Once the pandemic ends, often there is a period in which people seek out extensive social interaction, and which there's a prediction that will be a second roaring 20s, just as after the 1918 flu pandemic. There's a prediction that there will be a second roaring 20s, just as after the 1918 flu pandemic. This is it. That's right, big money energy. This is it. We're in 2022. We're getting ready to see, and we are in the midst of the beginning of the roaring 20s. When will the stock market crash? I do not know, but my prediction is from 2022 to 2029, change and prosperity. Now, will we see some horrible things take place? Yes, we're seeing it now with the shootings and with the mass shootings and all stuff like that. We're seeing all that now. A lot of that stuff is political. A lot of that stuff is tied into politics. And then some stuff, is just wicked and evilness in our country. Okay? So change and prosperity, we're going to see 2022 through 2029, and you may see it before 2029. But that's why you got to take action and you got to make it happen now. Okay? What I call the storm is going to be from 2030 through 2036. That's what I'm calling the storm. Are these numbers exact? I don't know, but that's what I'm telling you. From 2022 to 2029 right now is 7 years of prosperity. Could the stock market crash before then? Possibly. But I want you to change the way you think and get rich in your mind, because some of these folks ain't worried about no stock market crashing. They gonna make money regardless. They're gonna make money regardless. Even in the 2030s, between 2030 up until 2045, they're gonna be folk make money regardless. Why am I telling y'all this? Because there is also a prediction. Let me play my music, let y'all know I'm done. There's also a prediction that black folk, medium income for black people, by the time 2050, 2053 get here, the medium income for black folk are going to be 0 to negative. Zero to negative. And it's what we're doing now. The information we're receiving now. Are you receiving any information? Have you heard anything? Or y'all just shouting and dancing, just having church, just doing the regular same old stuff. While white folk medium income is going to be 150,000 plus by the time 2050 or 2053 get here. Where black folk 0 to negative. This ain't about whether God is good. He's good. This is about, what are you going to do? Do you see history is repeating itself? And it's time now for you to walk by faith and not by sight, and take action, and to dream big, to think big, to do big, and make something happen. To not walk in fear. To not be distracted by all the noise. Too many of us are distracted by noise. We're distracted by all this stuff. And I know it is so difficult. I know it's so difficult, but some of it is really planned to control you and distract you. It's difficult to see people shot, treated bad. It's real difficult. I even question, is it real? Obviously it is, because I know them folk in Buffalo were real. But you gotta guard your heart and guard your mind. Oh man, I hope you hear me tonight. I feel like Noah telling the folk it's gonna rain. I'm building the ark. I'm building the financial ark. I feel like I'm telling folk, and I don't get it. I honestly don't get how church folk and folk just kind of like all these services and all this shouting and dancing, which is, I have no issue with shouting and dancing, but it's like, don't they see what's going on? I don't know. I don't get it. Saints, become bigger. Become bigger. That's one of my anchors. One of my anchors is that I'm bigger than anything. I'm bigger than any problem. I'm bigger. I don't focus on how big the problem is. I focus on how big I am. And I know church folks say, no, you're supposed to focus on how big God is. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't focus on how big problems are or anything. I focus on how big I am. And I'm big because of God, right? You understand what I'm saying? You got to become bigger than problems. And if you ever find yourself dealing with big problems, that means you are acting small. And every time you find yourself flustered and frustrated over what's so big, you got to look at yourself and say, I'm mini me. I'm acting like a little mini me. I'm a little small. You acting small. Stop acting small and become big. Everything around you, I don't care what it is. I don't care how big it's supposed to be. It's nothing. And we keep magnifying everything else. And then we play ourselves small. We see ourselves as small. When the Bible says greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. I'm not small. No, you talking real, whatever. I'm not. Why am I going to act small when God is in me? The God power, the God life is in me. Stop acting small and act big. Nothing. I don't care what it is. It could be $1 million situation. Don't matter. Small. You could be going through some real stuff. Don't matter. Small. I'm telling you, and I don't have time to get into it, but you got to start thinking big and stop acting small. This is the time to become rich. I keep trying to tell the church, Sister Bowman Smith, I'm trying to tell y'all, this ain't the time to go splurge. Get out of debt. Have multiple streams of income. Find some stocks that you like that are low. Hold on to them. Hold it. Get a return. Make money. Keep your life here. Eat good. Exercise. Keep your house clean. Chill for a second. And when it's time, when that stock market crash, everything's going to go on sale. And the house that costs $3 million may be $30,000. A house that costs $3 million may be $300,000. And you know what? Some of y'all going to be in the position to buy it cash. Oh, God. Okay. I released what was in me. I hope y'all hear me. We are in the roaring 20s. From a pandemic, history is repeating itself. History is repeating itself. So, Father, in Jesus' name, oh, God. Lord, help your people. Oh, God, help your people to hear me tonight. Help them to see it. Help them to go study it for themselves and get the same revelation you gave me. That they would prosper and be in health, even as their soul prospers. And we thank you for it. And we honor you for it. Yadadamasokobasha. In the name of Jesus, I speak millions, hundreds of thousands to the Bowman Smith household. Oh God, that you would just cause it to just flow. Ideas will flow. $1 million ideas. Matter of fact, everybody watching me, I speak $1 million ideas into your consciousness now. $1 million ideas into your consciousness even now. multiple $1 million ideas into your consciousness even now. You will prosper. You will be prepared. You're in one of the greatest years of prosperity, and you are alive to see it. And you are alive to see it. And you are alive to see it. I even studied on the Kennedy family, some of others. I started studying what did people do during the 1920s to become rich, and they were in this. They became rich from the stock market, and they became rich from the movie industries. The movie industry. Some of you listening to me tonight, I'm not talking about you being an actress in a movie. I'm talking about you having your hand in the movie industry, whether you own movie studios, equipment, something. You're going to prosper. I'm telling you, I've been dealing with this all night, and I wish I could talk to the world, but I don't think everybody would hear what I'm saying. The roaring 20s are here. History is repeating itself. And for those who can hear and see, you're going to prosper. Change your diet, exercise, get your energy up, and you're going to prosper. And when things shift, you're going to think like a millionaire thinks. You're going to think like a rich person thinks. You're going to handle it like a rich woman. You're going to handle it like a rich man. You're not going to panic. You're going to be able to help your family for the ones who don't see it. It's okay. They won't see it. They won't hear you. But you're going to do it. In Jesus' name. Oh my God. I've been just dealing with it, man. Listen, I'm about to go. This is a book, Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. You need to get this book. Powerful book. Because there's something that the devil is using right now, and you wouldn't really know what it is until you read a book like this, Outwitting the Devil. He's using a tool right now called fear. But it's time for you to prosper. You need to read a book like this. All right. I love you all. Listen, tonight, if you all want to share in your giving, I want you to go to the Cash App, # Effective Life Church, and the number 1. And I want you to sow tonight. Those of you who will and can, whatever you feel in your heart, give, sow. Meet us here on Sunday. I'm telling you, this is it. If you ever wanted to know what's going on, this is what's happening. History is repeating itself, which gives you an understanding of how to prosper. So it shall be. And as we always say, I have the favor of God and I'm living in the overflow. I love you all so much. Go in peace and go and prosper. God bless.